Why don't you show us the book once again, Melanie?
The book looks like this, and it looks like the slide. There, you'll get a link to it. So
Very
cool.
good.
And
So yes, tell us more.
I see Larry, I see Catlin. Hello, it's good to see you all, and other folks as well. Okay, thank you for joining. Like Jenna said, my name is Melanie. Seibert is pronounced Seibert, but if you say Seibert, I won't be upset because everyone says that in the US. So my name's Melanie. I'm here today to talk about managing content design teams. It's exciting to see so many content design folks here, as well as others. So a little bit about me. I'm currently working as a content design manager at PayPal. I live in Charlottesville, Virginia, and work remotely. And I've been around for a little while working in content and UX. So part of being around for a little while, you start to have opinions, and I gathered all my opinions and wrote this book. So this is what my opinions are, what you'll hear today, but not for 27 minutes, thankfully. So there are two things that I wanted to cover. First, I want to talk about why content design teams are important to digital products, and then a little bit about setting content design teams up for success. I have made mistakes in this area and thought other people could benefit from my mistakes. So let's see. I've managed 3 teams. I've started 2 teams. I established teams at an agency and in-house at Indeed. So that's where I had the ability to learn and make mistakes and hopefully learn how to manage better. Okay, so let's get into it. Why content design is important. Okay, I want to tell you a little story. Names have been changed to protect the victims of poorly designed software in this story. So as a manager on Citibank's operations team, Sanjay's first order of business on August 12th, 2020, was to review his team's work for the previous day. His team's job was to process credits and debits to their clients' accounts, and Sanjay needed to ensure there were no discrepancies. But as he began to examine the transactions, he could tell something wasn't right. The day before, his team had received instructions to pay $7.8 million in interest on a loan taken out by Citibank's client Revlon. But instead, he found that his employer, Citibank, had accidentally paid off Revlon's entire loan early, which was a total of $894 million. So that couldn't be an accident, could it? At Citibank, which is one of the largest banks in the world, accidents like that just didn't happen. For one thing, they had a 6 eyes protocol that was put in place to prevent even the smallest mistake in transferring funds. And according to that policy, one team member, in this case, Viraj, who was one of Sanjay's direct reports, entered the transfer into Oracle FlexCube, the application Citibank's operations team used for transfers like this. And here's what he saw when he did that. This is the screen. Right. Then a second pair of eyes, in this case Sanjay's, reviewed the transaction in FlexCube. And then finally Scott, another Citibank manager in Delaware, reviewed the transaction as well. So in FlexCube, the best way to make an interest payment like this was to transfer the entire loan amount, because that makes sense, right? Sending the principal to an internal Citibank account and the interest to an external lender account. When they looked at the FlexCube screen, the Citibank team saw that the principal field was checked and the internal account number entered correctly. So to them, that signaled that FlexCube was to send the principal amount to the internal Citibank account. And when Sanjay tried to proceed with the transaction, he saw this warning. Account used as wire. Account and funds will be sent out of the bank. Do you want to continue? Yes, no. That didn't raise any alarms because while the principal was being sent to the internal account, the interest payment was going to the lenders. So Sanjay clicked yes to finalize the transaction. So why was the internal Citibank account missing almost $1 billion? Could it have been a computer bug? That was their first theory. Sanjay, Viraj, and Scott eventually discovered that FlexCube required entries in 2 more fields in order to send the principal amount to the internal account. By leaving those fields unchecked and empty, the team had inadvertently told FlexCube to send the entire principal amount, not just the interest, directly to the lenders. A 2-year legal battle ensued. Citibank asked Revlon's lenders to return the erroneous payment, and they got about $500 million back right away. but several lenders resisted, and it would be 2 years before Citibank would reach an agreement with the Revlon lenders to get the money back. By that time, Citibank had paid an undisclosed amount in legal fees, and U.S. bank regulators had fined them $400 million for longstanding deficiencies in their risk management and other processes. In the wake of the ordeal, the Citibank CEO resigned. In court, Scott said that after Sanjay had discovered the mistake and alerted him, quote, "I accepted that the mistake had not been caused by any sort of glitch, but rather by human error, and that I was one of the humans responsible for the error." But I think he's only half right. The FlexCube debacle was the result of human error, but Scott wasn't the human who caused the error. Oracle caused the error by designing FlexCube so badly. So my question is, why did they do this? So to explain what I think happens here, here's my version of how tech companies start. A software engineer or group of them creates a product. They're fortunate to find product market fit. People want to pay money for something that they use their coding skills to create, which is very exciting. So now they have a company. And it just so happens that since this successful company was founded by people who write code, and since the product that brings in money is something engineers made with their coding skills, the company's focused around engineering. So pretty soon a few things happen. The engineers realize they're not that great at designing interfaces, or they don't want to spend their time doing that. They hire a visual designer, and they value the visual designer, but as a specialist who makes things look nice, not as a strategic thinker. As a result, the designer doesn't have much influence over staffing, organizing work, or the product roadmap. But over time, as the design work grows, the design team does too. They grow in numbers as well as influence. And as they begin to have a more informed point of view on the product strategy and come up with more strategic ideas, they may even begin to influence the business and product at a deeper level, which is great. Then a few more things happen. The designers realize they aren't that great at writing content for the user interface, or they don't want to spend their time doing that, so they hire a content designer. And they value the content designer as a specialist who makes things sound good, but not a strategic thinker. As a result, the content designer doesn't have much influence over staffing, organizing work, or the product roadmap. So this pattern plays out in tech companies over and over, because what typically prompted that little engineering team to hire its first visual designer was the feeling that they needed help making the product look a certain way. That's why they didn't hire a content designer first. They hired a visual designer to create mockups. So my assertion is that we need to reject this visual first mindset for digital products, because content matters actually more than visuals. A digital product is worthless if it looks good, but no one can understand what they're supposed to do with it. A product delivers more value as a way to communicate with users than as a visual artifact. Prioritizing visual design over content is a holdover from the early days of tech, the result of a startup's first impulse to make the product look better. In reality, content design and visual design should never be separated. Each product team should have at least one dedicated content designer. That is my theory. When I worked at Indeed, I surveyed 61 of my product manager, UX designer, and research teammates to find out how much value they got out of working with a content designer. When I asked them how working with a content designer affects the quality of their solutions, 69% of respondents gave a rating of 5, indicating they deliver much higher quality with a content designer on the team than without. As for data outside of Indeed, oh, Larry, I got so many of these stats from you, or some of these stats from you. There are lots of case studies that prove the value of content design. So, for example, Facebook's first content strategist, Sarah Cancilla, reported a content change that resulted in a 56% increase in traffic. Sarah Winters, founder of Content Design London, reported a content change for the UK government that increased task completion by 88%. Kylie Hansen at Microsoft reported the content design solved 44% of task failures and increased usability by 92%. And Expedia removed an unnecessary form field and gained $12 million in revenue. So now that we understand why it's important to include a content designer on the team and some data points, let's talk just for a minute about how to set that team up for success. Recognizing that your team needs a skilled content designer is the first step to setting up your new hire for success. But not every team that asks for a content designer is ready for one. Although they may recognize the need, many product managers and designers don't understand how content designers work. They think of a content designer as a service provider, someone who comes in after design has happened, polishes copy, and then goes to the next project. But because the content designer should be a full partner in the design process, so this is sort of that model of content designer as service provider to the UX designer. But because the content designer should be a full partner in the design process, hiring a content designer should shift ownership of the user experience from one design person to the design team. That design team should include the designer, content designer, and researcher, and depending on the product, maybe other roles as well. This shift in ownership is a big change because many visual UX designers learned early on from the early hiring habits of startups that I discussed earlier that they're the owners of the entire experience and they've always worked that way. As a manager, I've hired several content designers. At one point, I assumed that just putting content designers onto a team would position them for success by default because they were so smart and I just figured that they would figure it out. But a few months in, I noticed in one case, one of my new hires was struggling, and I realized it wasn't her fault, it was mine. Despite my efforts during the hiring process to clarify her job duties and desired process, I hadn't been clear enough with her team, so they didn't include her in important design meetings and decisions. So talking to the team before hiring a content designer and clarifying your expectations and how the design process will change, the design process itself will change, is really important to do up front. Okay, so that's all I have for like prepared remarks. We can go a lot deeper into this, but I want to give you all a chance to ask questions and discuss if there's anything on your mind or
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perhaps we can come back to the book. I saw you had it there. Perhaps if you stop sharing the screen, we can perhaps see the book a little bit, a bigger version of it. But just tell us more, if this was a good old school book launch reception, Yes, there it is. Very nice. What's inside? Table of contents, do you think? Yes.
Yeah. This book is not a large book. I'm a UX writer, so everything is short. We write buttons. So I don't know if you probably can't read the table of contents
here, a little bit. Yes. 7 chapters. Yeah.
Yeah, it talks about a content first design process and how to hire, and different organizational structures that you can use for your content design team. And then at the end, it touches on AI and how content designers can work with AI products. I honestly think that should be another book for someone to write who works on an AI product, but there's a lot to discuss there. So yeah, that's the book. I didn't do I really just needed to write my opinions down it, so I did not go crazy. So that's why I wrote the book and put it out there. I didn't know how to market a book or publish a book. So a few of them have sold, and if anyone wants it, it's there, and I hope it's helpful to people. That's my main goal.
Very good. And the book has a foreword by Rachel McConnell, who I think some of you might also know. Came out in August, so it's turning half a year old now. Yeah. And like you said, it's almost like you showed it, it's something you can bring to the beach when that time comes in this part of the world, 140 pages.
Yeah, you can read it. You could read it on the beach. I don't know if you want to read about work while you're on vacation, but I mean, I do. I don't know if other people do. So. Very
good. On a flight is what I meant, of course. while waiting in the airport lounge. Yes.
I like to read tech books around the swimming pool.
Very good. Any questions, comments? I can keep this Q&A going, but I think this, like I said in the opening, anybody has any questions, comments, remarks? Now is a good time. You can just jump in like Tom did and then leave, but I'm sure he'll be back. But you could also use the friendly raise hand function. Either one is fine. Yes. Why don't we start with you, Kathleen?
Hey, I'm Caitlin. Hi, Melanie.
Hey.
Thanks for sharing. I just started a new role at a company that's not used to having a content design team. There's one content designer, and I'm coming in as the manager of content design. So I have my work cut out for me, I think. And I'm going to try to take some practices from other companies to how to show, as far as how to show value to a team not used to working with content design. And they're not, like, the content designer that's there is just like not really included in the process. They are the producer at the end that, like, right now they're like the content police, which is, and the content improver, which is like not a place where I want us to be. I want us to be, you know, doing content first things. Do you have any advice on to like concretely how to show value of those content first types of things? Like, I know some things I've done in the past are like content wireframing or UX exercises, like showing content exercises in the beginning that you can show that like you can reduce design and dev cycles later. But I'm curious if you have any other just tips or advice and ways to ways to really show it, not tell it.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of folks find themselves in your position, unfortunately. That's one reason why I wrote this book, because I felt like, why are so many teams like stretching their content design teams thin? They don't, because there's a lack of understanding about maybe the value or the process around content design. Anyway, to your question, so I think what you're doing is so smart. That's awesome that you're doing OOUX. I'm a big fan. A couple of things come to mind. One thing that really helped me, none of this is anything you haven't already thought of. Unfortunately, I wish I had like secret hacks, but one thing that really helped me at Indeed was having allies in leadership and finding those people as early as possible. I talked to, my manager was a director. I talked to the VP. The director gave me an intro to the VP, and I was able to explain to him why we needed a team in our business unit. And he thankfully did agree to fund that. So, you know, times are a little different now. This was 2021, 2022, but I still think that's worth a try. And honestly, having allies in leadership, there are very few things that are going to give you more leverage than that. It's just so much more helpful than trying to go around convincing everyone. So that's one thing. And then you mentioned showing the work and showing the value of the work. Another thing is who's been doing somebody's been doing the work, whether it's done well or not. And so if a designer or a marketing writer, somebody's been writing content, and you can find stats from your organization to present or to help leadership understand, that could be impactful as well. So yeah, those are just a couple of ideas, but it is sometimes a bit of an uphill battle, unfortunately. You can have them read the book. This book is really geared towards product leaders and product managers, UX directors, people who maybe work in the space, but just think that it's fine to have content designers write the copy at the end, to show them why it's really not fine. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but those are some ideas, and maybe other people in the chat have ideas as well.
Cool, thank you.
Perhaps Larry, you can go next with this or another angle.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Melanie, I've mothballed the Content Strategy Insights podcast, but I would happy to have you on and revive it for an episode, because we got to get the word. This book, it just, because we've talked about this before, but I love just the succinctness of it. It's perfect executive reading, and it's an important message. So I'll ping you on the LinkedIn. But great job. It looks really.
Oh man, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I mean, you did a lot of the work in your podcast and bringing these case studies to light and a lot of these statistics to light. Like I said, Kylie Hansen's interview was super helpful to me, that you did with her. And so, yeah, we can just kind of build off of each other's work. So thank you very much for saying that. That's great.
The other one I mentioned too, because Caitlin, you mentioned Content First. I hope you know Sarah Johnson's book, Content First Design. Melanie's nodding. She's seen it for sure. Yeah. That's another good resource.
Yeah, Content First Design. There's an old article that I referenced by Steph Hay on A List Apart about Content First Design process. A lot of the links in that article are broken. That's how old it is. But that was really formative too. And interestingly, I just started managing a web team, a web content design team, and they already had a Content First process when I moved onto the team. I've been working in product and apps for so long and fighting to get content design into the process. I came onto this web team and I was like, oh, I just wrote a whole book saying that nobody's doing this right, and you guys are over here doing it. So maybe you have like a web team in your organization who's already doing Content First Design.
Good. Very good. Any other comments? You did mention this topic that I think we were like 23 minutes in without like any notable coverage of AI, which is good. But you did mention like hinting at a second edition or even another book. Tell us a little bit more about your thinking on that topic, how it changes things.
Yeah, in my research for this book, I talked to my friend Rebecca Wynn at Indeed, who is a content design lead who works on AI products. It's just interesting to me, and I feel like it's been a year or so, a year and a half maybe, since I did that research, and so much has changed. So I'm really kind of learning from the industry at this point. When it comes to content design and AI. But what my big takeaway was that content designers are uniquely skilled and positioned to be able to design products that incorporate large language models. Because so many of these products, we've just thought of digital product and software visually for so long. And I feel like organizations have thought of them as a collection of boxes to put stuff in for so long that there needs to be a mindset shift at the top levels of software organizations to understand that these products, these AI-based products coming out are semantic. They convey meaning. They convey language, and you need a language designer. This is not a real word. I'm just making it up. To a content designer to work on this, and it's a completely different type of process from the traditional content design or UX writing process that I'm familiar with, and that we kind of grew up with, where we're placing words in an interface. Because we're now, what Rebecca does is she now trains LLMs to come up with words, and there's a certain amount of risk with that, and they have to be tested. So it's a really interesting and evolving space. I'm really interested and curious to see how people are doing this. I don't have imminent plans to write about this. I kind of wish someone else would do it, but if nobody else does it, then I might have to think about it.
All right. Sounds like a promise there. So brief remarks perhaps from Tom and Larry.
Hi, yes, can you hear me? I'm planning to write about this. I'm going to publish a book on the 2nd of April about designing for machines and humans.
Hooray!
Very good.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
So
Very
I
good.
will read it.
I have talked about this with Janice's members talks before. I will have one of these when we launch the book. The book will be a PDF and an Amazon print on demand.
Amazing.
Very good, Tom.
I can't wait.
Very good. Yes, thank you. And more about that, I'll make sure to put in a link as well if anybody wants to contribute, review, and be a part of the learning journey with Tom.
I meant to say, I'm looking for reviewers for my book. So yes. Melanie, if you want one, you can have one this afternoon.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Over to you, Larry.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, like, are you discovering anything in your gatherings about the use of AI, especially in content design teams?
Over here?
Yeah.
I think AI is such a huge topic, so many different angles. And I think also when I look across Europe and North America, this term content design seems so unevenly implemented. Yeah. I don't need to go back into the archaeology of content strategy, but the understanding of this and doing it at scale, I'm still finding that real implementations are few and far between, and there's a lot of, I think, also guidance missing. Yeah, I think you made this kind of engineering versus UX, Silicon Valley almost stereotype, but I think in many other organizations, whether it's older finance or any industry, it's this came out of digital comms. Like that's the group I met with this morning as I was small talking with Melanie before the call. And I think many people, expectations keep going up. The number of challenges keep going up. We haven't yet done any member call on TikTok, but it's out there. It's a big thing. It's almost run like a parallel universe. Even with ChatGPT or similar now being the main entry into the somewhat still open web, websites are still there. Websites are still important. So it seems like 2026 has already started like a whirlwind, and I'm seeing a lot of content folks struggling to keep up with the expectations and being chronically understaffed as in the past, but now perhaps even worse. So it's not like, it seems to me like AI is taking the jobs. To wrap it up, it might be enabling us to chew more of the backlog, but I would say still the backlog seems to be growing faster than the deliveries coming out. So it's a really, really interesting time. And that's why I also think it's important for us to have books like this that we can get together around, because I'm still a little bit saddened sometimes about this almost insistence in the industry of keep reinventing industry terms. And why do we keep disagreeing on what's the template? What's this? What's that? Can't we all right, books have been written about this, not only from you, Melanie, but also from others. Now let's build from this level and then, solve new problems, have new insights, make new mistakes, and then recover from them, iterate, and go off in another direction. But that's what I hope. That's why I really find the work that you've done, Melanie, so admirable. So that was a brief, unprepared answer, Larry. And we're coming up at the end of time.
You're such a font of wisdom and knowledge. I appreciate
Thank you very much. But thank you most of all to you, Melanie. Really appreciate it. I hope this is the beginning of a longer conversation, with or without a second edition, with or without a second book. But let's keep the conversation going on this topic. Thank you so much for everybody who joined us in the afternoon, in the morning, warm, very cold here. Let's talk again soon. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very
Great
much.
to see you.
Great seeing everybody.
Thank you.